Drawing characters that are full of life and full of story and enriched with adventure is something that we strive for as artists. But can we achieve that in a fast and easy way? To find the answer to that question, I've been trying to fill up a lot of sketchbooks throughout the years and experimented with multiple ways that I can make my characters look more interesting. From reading an entire book and building the world inside of it, to inventing an entire life story to make the character look more human. And a common sign throughout all of these experimentations was my own interest. If I wasn't fully immersed in the process of drawing and designing the character, then I am not able to make the character look interesting. I decided that I have to become interested to make it more interesting. And one of the ways that I made myself more interested was to invent some personality behind the face of my characters. And the way I did this was not just by writing the story, but by taking inspirations from every source I came across. And there's something that you should know. For everything that you do, not just drawing, but everything that you want to learn and might feel a bit hard in the beginning, you have to take advantage of your favorite activities. You link up what you already love and interested in to something that you want to learn. All of a sudden, what felt like a chore will become as interesting as your hobbies. And how I applied this to character design was to listen to my favorite horror fiction podcast and to try to capture the described personality through my own design. And it was so interesting and so challenging at the same time, which is the best combination if you want to get better at a task. You have to be interested in it and also be challenged by it. So I started to listen to a lot of podcasts, especially podcasts that are super dramatic, so that are more likely to come up with character ideas that are distinct and unique. And something else that I started to do was to multiply my sensory intake. What does that actually mean? When I was listening to podcasts, at the same time, I had a screen full of references that was around the theme of the podcast, and I would just draw the character based on all the inspirations that I'm getting. So I multiplied the sensory intake so that I'm more engaged, and the character that comes out of that is going to be richer, and it's gonna have more personality to it because I am having two inspiration sources. Like one is the auditory one, and the other one is visual, and that's how you combine every sources and you get better at what you're doing by having a lot more inspirations. The next thing I did was to combine writing with drawing, which is something that made this journey so much more addictive. Because before I took drawing seriously, I was obsessed with writing. I would write every single day. I would write poems, stories, fiction, non-fiction, and that's why I studied literature. And when I combined these two, my mind was exploding with ideas because my love of writing awakened the love of designing a character that tells a story. The next thing that I did was to read books that are written visually, and specifically those that are so rich with imaginative characters that you can immediately picture their personality in your mind. And just as an exercise, not something that I wanted to work hard on, but like something that I wanted to practice, I would just quickly draw sketches of the character described in the book, and I would try to capture all the identity or personality features of that character and bring it into reality, kind of like try to make all the concepts of that book around that character and add that to the physical features of the character, which is such a hard thing to do. I mean, like, you have to decide whether or not the kind of hair is fitting to that character or what kind of color that character is mostly represented by. And there's so many features that you're gonna play with, and that's the fun of it, you know? That's how fun it's gonna get because there's so many features, there's so many options that you have, and you can play with it infinitely and make it better and better. So one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you don't need to start with big, fully drawn characters. You don't need to jump into colors when your sketches are looking horrible, you know? Just start with line drawings. Like, make a bunch of drafty sketches because it's not efficient for you to focus on everything in the beginning. Just focus on the bare bones of your characters, and then if you get so freaking good at it, then and only then you can move on to studying all the other parts of it. But again, the shape of your characters, the line of your characters, the forms, those are what defines the personality of your character. So simplify it in the beginning and just work on whatever you can, because if you just complicate things, it's only going to make it harder. Something else that I do is watching my favorite animes or shows and movies, and I try to combine different features of different characters and make them into one character. Like I would just borrow the colors of one character and combine it with the shape and forms of another character, or sometimes I try to cartoonize the characters out of a movie with the style of my favorite animation. And that's what I do to make my characters much more dynamic. And if you have any sort of tips that you've experienced before and you know that it's gonna work, then maybe share it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that I can see you in the next video. Have a nice day.